nothing but faith. There's things far too great that I want to accomplish. I'm hoping 25 hours a day, but something good works out, and I'm just like, dang. Think everything's gonna be okay. Yeah, I'm like, dang. Think you might just know the way. I'm like, dang.
Welcome to Dang.
Dang! I'm Todd Bridges.
And I'm Bettijo Bridges. And today we're joined by Dr. Brian Samford, a PhD marriage and family therapist, addiction specialist, and the chief clinical officer at the Arbor Treatment Center in Texas.
Wow, okay.
He's known and loved in the recovery world for his heart, his humor, and his belief that healing is a family affair. Dr. Samford turned his own recovery into a lifelong mission to help individuals and families heal. We're so grateful to have Dr. Samford with us.
Yes, we are.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here.
Well, we definitely appreciate it. So tell us exactly what exactly is your job? Tell us, so we can help explain to the audience exactly what your job is.
I oversee all the direct care staff, which includes clinicians, it includes recovery managers, recovery advocates, anybody that's directly involved with the clients I oversee. And I provide supervision and, plus also am very active working with families. I do a monthly family program, a 2-day family program, which is absolutely my favorite thing to do. And I meet with clients on a pretty regular basis as well.
So it's
And
things
usually,
sorry, go ahead.
Usually the clients that I end up meeting with are more complex cases. And so they need a little bit more specialty. So
there's people like the nurses and the techs that are working in the treatment centers, and you oversee them. Is that right? Is that
I do not oversee medical.
okay?
But
The medical
everything
side of it.
clinical.
Okay. All right.
Right.
So that's something I didn't understand. So the clinical side is like the therapy side. Then is that right?
That's right. The
Okay.
therapy, the get out of bed time staff, all of the direct care staff, excluding nursing.
Okay.
Do they do you ever have people that don't want to get out of bed? Because when I first we got in rehab and they wanted me to, I did not want to get out. How do you guys handle that?
I've been experiencing that issue for 30 something years.
Wow.
Clients not wanting to get out of bed. And it makes sense. Most of us, when we're in our addiction, we stay up, we're vampires. We stay up all night, sleep all day. And it's hard to get people on a different schedule when they come into treatment and they don't want to get out of bed, which I get it. I understand it. We do a variety of methods to get people out of bed. One of my favorite strategies is if they won't get out of bed, we take all the clients into the room and have a group in their room.
That does sound like a good plan.
Yeah, you don't want to. In other words, if you don't want to come join this party, we're bringing a party to you.
That's right. Or this is another favorite: is you sit down with the client and you start reading out of the Alcoholics Anonymous text until they go, "Okay, I'll get up."
Yes. Yes.
Well, this journey, can you tell us a little bit more about how your story begins and why you found your way to the addiction space?
It's a very common story. I wish it was more unique, but it's not. I was in treatment, and the very first counselor that I had seemed like he really cared about me, and I just couldn't get over the fact, why does this stranger care about me? And I made the decision right then and there that I want to be like him when I grow up. I want to learn how to care about people like he cares about me. And that's really what got me started. I started with the idea of becoming a licensed chemical dependency counselor. And it was because of this gentleman that cared about me.
Well, how old were you then?
I was 24.
Wow.
Okay.
Long ago.
And
Because I'm 29 now, so
Yes, yes.
Just kidding.
You know,
So
yeah,
it's just 5 years
no.
ago.
I understand that because I'm 19 and I'm actually 19, you know, right now, too.
Right.
Yes, I am.
Sure. Okay. So, what brought you into that counselor's office? How did you get there when you were 24?
A lot of chaos.
Oh, yeah.
I was actually in detox,
Oh,
and he
wow.
was the
Okay.
detox counselor. And so, for probably the 6 months prior to me going to treatment, having the opportunity to go to treatment, I was really using around the clock. And by the time I got to detox, I was in pretty rough shape.
Yeah. Are you a Texas native?
Can you tell
No, I
by
just
my
was wondering.
accent?
No, I was
Yes,
just
yes,
wondering.
yes, I am.
So, what area of Texas is home for you, or where you grew up?
I grew up in North Texas.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah. And so, did you go to treatment right there in Texas too?
I did. I did.
So, in the field that you work in right now, if you could fix anything in that field, what is the main thing you'd want to fix?
That is a pretty easy question. Because I've been saying this for years. Is if I could convince insurance companies to allow clients to stay in treatment a sufficient amount of time to truly get stabilized, that's what I would do.
And how
If I
long?
could change anything. I say this, if I could keep people in treatment 6 months, I would do that.
Okay.
And what we see is when we have a client that's engaged in a structured therapeutic process for a year, for at least a year, their probability of staying sober is very high long term.
And are you
Okay.
factoring
But
into that 6 months, like all of that is residential, or like you think residential could be, like we hear 90 days a lot, and then going to like a sober living facility. Is that kind of what you're thinking too, or you think residential could
Yeah.
really use to be?
And that's our facility is we have a 90-day curriculum. We keep
Okay.
people anywhere from, all walks, all ranges from 30 days to 180 days.
Oh, wow.
And but if you're dealing with individuals that have severe substance use disorders, it's going to take at least 90 days to get them
Clear-headed.
to get them started on their journey
Yeah.
to recover.
So that's like the
At least
minimum in
90
your
days.
mind. Yeah, 90
yeah.
days is like
Yeah.
And then I think that's the problem with a lot of these insurance companies, they don't realize that. And it's like, if you want this guy not to have to do this again through the insurance, give him the quality time that he needs in the program so that he can get a chance to get the miracle, to find it.
Yeah.
Because
That's
you're
right.
not going to find it in 7 days. Detox treatment
Well-
you're out in the street doesn't work,
Well, and I'll tell you this, that, the kind of in the model in our country is a 30-day model.
Yeah.
And really 30 days of residential treatment is really extended detox.
Yeah.
Because an individual is still significantly impaired for several weeks after they stop using. And so you really don't have the time to get to any in-depth core issues that are driving that addictive behavior, because by the time they sufficiently get detoxed, you're moving them on to a lower level of care.
yeah. So it really is a problem. The length of stay and how much is covered
Yes.
is a significant barrier. Sounds
That's
like.
right. Exactly.
How do you feel like family factors in as well?
Well, in today's world, I started doing family program in 1997.
Wow.
And so I've been doing family program for a long time, working with families. And I use this example to show how family involvement has changed over the last couple of generations. In 1997, if I had 10 families in the room and we gave recommendation, 9 of those families would follow recommendations and 1 family wouldn't. Fast forward to today, if I have 10 families in a room 9 of those families will not follow recommendation, and 1 will. And families have become one of the greatest barriers for successful treatment outcomes.
Wow. What do you think has changed? That's such a huge difference.
It is, we deal with parental sabotage on a daily basis. We'll have an individual making progress and moving forward in treatment, and at the 11th hour, the family will swoop in and sabotage the whole thing. It happens all
What
the
does
time.
that look like? Yeah, what does that sabotage look like?
Well, you can come and live with me after treatment. You can move back into the home after treatment.
Okay,
That is probably
yeah, explain that, because like as a parent, I don't understand the ins and outs of it. So I'm like, is that bad? Why would that be bad?
What you mean to move back into the house?
Yeah, so explain that to me. Help me understand that.
Okay. That is probably one of the worst things that parents could do for their adult child that's trying to get sober.
Yeah.
Because one of the foundational principles of being sober and advancing in recovery is taking responsibility, that I'm responsible for my life.
Okay.
And if you move back in the home with your parents can't help but want to parent you.
Right.
Yep.
And you don't need your parents. You need to take responsibility and develop a support system around you.
Right.
Because parents will tend to do things for you that you should really be doing for yourself. And it's virtually impossible to not do that and to fall victim to that.
Mm-hmm. And the time periods you were just saying, it was back in 1997, you were saying that what you felt like it was like, 90% of the people were doing what you recommended, and now it's like 10%.
Right.
So in the last, I guess, how long is that? 20, 30
That's
years, 30 years?
Yeah, it's a couple of generations.
Yeah.
Because you have the millennials and you have the Zs.
Right.
So you look at, it's pretty easy to see it. You look at society, and society has changed pretty dramatically as far as parent-child relationships in the last 35 years. I'm a Generation X, and so we were known as the latchkey kids. Both of our parents were working, and we were pretty much on our own during the day. And we grew up and started having kids, and we knew what we got into when we were kids because we didn't have any parental supervision. And the pendulum swung too far the other direction, and we started over-parenting. And that is a significant issue in young adults learning how to navigate life, because parents will address any adversity that comes up. Parents will jump in and take care of it. So the child never learns how to deal with adversity in life. And then they get into adulthood and they don't have any, a lot of times they lack infrastructure on how to navigate life.
Right. Because they've been having somebody do so much for them, more than what should have been done. They don't have the skill set.
Yeah.
And you see that repeatedly.
We see it a lot.
Yeah.
Because we have a lot of young adults that admit with us, and a lot of them are lacking basic adult skill sets. And so we have to teach them just basic adult skill sets along with all the recovery aspects. But we have to teach them that because they can't navigate life as an adult. They don't know how to do it.
So some of the training that it sounds like you're saying goes into the treatment is you training the family now how to deal with this.
Right.
Interesting.
And a big part of the family interaction with the family is to get them disengaged from their adult child. Let them start to walk in life. Quit jumping in and rescuing them.
Yeah, that's a great tip. What other things can our listeners recognize and do? I think there are a lot of parents that listen to our podcast. What are things that they should know and should do as they're parenting their families?
You want to know some other examples of parental sabotage?
Yeah.
Is continuing to pay bills.
Oh, yeah.
That's a big one too.
Yep.
Is if you keep paying their bills, then they're never going to become adults.
Yeah.
And Another one is we've had families buy their adult child vehicles as a present for completing treatment.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, please don't do that. Because number one is a vehicle is one of the triggers for people in early recovery. Now, I'm not saying people shouldn't have a vehicle, but it is a trigger. A car and a phone are big triggers for people in early recovery. So don't participate in that. And don't reward them for doing what they actually should be doing, and that is trying to live a responsible life.
Right. So there's we wanted to ask you a little bit about some of like co-occurring conditions like personality disorders, trauma. But it sounds like what you're saying that some of the parental family stuff is a much bigger factor, or how can you address that?
It's a factor. Personality disorders and mood disorders are also an issue. Is the vast majority of clients that present with substance use disorders have other things going on as well.
Yeah.
And personality disorders, almost everybody that gets into recovery has a definable personality disorder. Because part of the issue is that alcoholics and drug addicts, we don't get along well with the world or with ourselves. And I can almost diagnose anybody that enters our treatment center with personality disorder. It's very common. And I normalize that and attach that to language that's utilized in 12-step recovery. In 12-step recovery, the language is character defects. Mm-hmm. It's in essence, you're dealing with the same thing. Clinical language is personality disorder. 12-step recovery language is character defects. And that's what, in large part, what individuals struggle with is you can get them sober, but they don't know how to navigate life without running into walls and other people. And so you have to teach us how to be able to interact with people in a healthy, caring way, because we don't know how to do that when we first get into recovery.
So can you give some examples of some of these personality disorders or character defects, as you're calling them? Like what are some of those that you?
Well, I can almost diagnose every single person that enters treatment with antisocial personality disorder.
Okay.
It is hard to be an alcoholic or drug addict and not be antisocial. And I'll read you a couple of criteria just to give you.
Yeah, that'd be great.
To make my case.
Okay.
Number one, failure to conform to social norms with respect to lawful behaviors. Okay. Number two, deceitfulness is indicated by repeated lying, conning others for personal profit. Number three, impulsivity or failure to plan ahead. Disregard for safety of self and others. And that's just...
Right. It just sounds like you're reading characteristics of an addict, right?
Right. Exactly.
Exactly. I see what you're saying. Yeah, absolutely.
And we see borderline personality disorder, histrionic, narcissistic. We see all the different flavors of personality disorders with clients. Yeah.
And it's kind of one of those things where the addiction is sort of like a symptom of those things. Would you almost put it a relationship like that?
Amen to that. That's exactly what it is. It is but a symptom. And that's the language that's also used in 12-step recovery it is but a symptom of our more significant life problems. We're using alcohol and drugs to medicate the fact that, we're not okay within ourselves and we're not okay with the world.
Yeah. So I like that you're kind of bringing in both the 12-step and the clinical side of things, because I know that they aren't necessarily the same. When you got into recovery, Brian, were you using 12-step?
Well, I learned all that after I got into. I didn't know anything when I got to treatment. I had no insight into anything that was going on with me.
I guess what I mean is like the treatment facility, was that what they were using as 12-step, or was it?
They, a version of, yeah, a little bit, but not a whole lot. It was really heavily focused on clinical.
Okay.
Okay.
And so you were introduced to the 12 steps or the 12-step program, but not in depth by any means.
Okay, that's interesting because I felt like a long time ago, which I was kind of trying. I know you said it was only 5 years ago, jokingly, but it was actually a lot longer ago than that, right?
I went to treatment in 1990.
Yeah, and
So that's when I went to treatment.
My understanding had been that the 12-step was kind of the prevalent way that people were treated, a long time ago. But it's interesting to hear that you actually did have some of the clinical. Sometimes I just try to understand the timeline of how, because addiction is a field that's just been changing so much, and especially rapidly in the last little bit. So.
Oh yeah, especially when it's a lot of things going on in the world. Addicts are it's amazing. They use everything to fuel either their addiction or they fuel their anger because you're looking around and it's interesting. Addicts will use when they're happy. Addicts will use when they're sad. Addicts will use when they're mad. It's always like, man, I'm so upset. Then they use, and then, man, I'm celebrating now. I'm celebrating because I'm happy. It's so interesting how, addicts will use every form of everything. So the way you work with people, it's got to be sometimes, because I'm sure you see things that you say, because I do when I'm working with people. I always see things I say, man, I used to think that way and do exactly that same thing. And you're trying to help people, push past that. And sometimes they can't because they don't see it themselves.
Well, and that is one of the, there are a lot of really good therapists and clinicians out there that are very helpful in working with people that have addiction issues. But people that have actually, like, for me, I'm in recovery. And so I often pick up a lot of things that maybe your clinician that's not in recovery will miss, because I've been there, done that. And so I always tell clients it's real difficult to be dishonest with me because I've done all the same things. And so don't try to lie to me, because I'll know.
Yeah.
Because I used to be the biggest liar around.
Todd will say that too. He'll be like, I've told all those lies, all those stories.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
I know exactly how this goes.
Yeah. You're going to have to be pretty tricky to get one past us. That's for sure.
And that's the thing. It's like sometimes I know, like someone will say, like, why did you do that? Oh, I didn't do that. No, I didn't do anything. And I'm looking at him going, oh my gosh, straight line through his teeth. He did do that. And, he's just trying to pull the wool over, his eyes. But it's like I see it. It's like, like even, we were driving on that last night, and we were driving and we stopped off the gas station to get something, and I saw something before she saw it. And I was like, honey, get in the car. And I got her in the car, so that I can be one-on-one, so that nothing took place, Yeah. And we can see things. Like I see dope deals go down that nobody else sees.
That's right.
You know what I mean? I'm driving along, and all of a sudden I'll turn around and see somebody, look around, they slip the money. I'm like, man, it's like the radar is on there. You can see, and that's the interesting part, because addicts, I'm telling you, what's really crazy is when I was using, it's like I could spot a drug dealer or somebody selling drugs down the street. I can say, oh, that dude's selling drugs.
It is interesting how that world exists around us, but when you're not a part of it, you don't see it. Like go ahead, Brian.
And what Todd is talking about is he sees the shadows.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the reason we see the shadows is because we used to live in the shadows.
Yes, exactly. We lived in it. Exactly.
Yeah. That's it.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I have the same. I share this during family program. Is I could go to a city and not know a soul in that city, and I could find the dope man in about 30 minutes.
Right? Exactly right.
Because we know each other.
Yep.
You still have that sense, huh? That's interesting.
Oh yeah. I can be around somebody. I'll tell you this story. This is interesting. I was at work, and I walked past a staff member, and And I said, "Hey, how's it going?" And I looked at that staff member, and then I kept walking. And I went immediately into a supervisor's office, and I said, "He's using." And just knew it like that, because you can feel it off
Yes, you
of
can. You can feel it. You can smell it.
That's
You can.
super
It's like it gives off a. To me, I always say it gives off a certain pheromone. You know, you're like, okay, oh, yep. He's over there getting high. You know.
So, and you guys can tell that. Can you tell us moms how to pick up on that? How can we tell? How can we tell? You have to.
I'm not sure about that.
Yeah.
You're not sure. You can tell me, because
First
I
of all, I'm
haven't
not sure
seen
because
the shadows.
you're a woman and I'm not, and so I don't know in that situation. But I do know that it helps us as far as just that it's a sense that we have. It's like a sixth sense. We have those senses.
But you have that not just because you're a man. I think what Dr. Samford is saying is you have it because you've been in. You've been there.
That's right.
But
Right.
I mean, but as far as being a woman, I don't know. I can't sense the women. You guys fool us forever. Cause I'm not a
I don't know,
woman.
Dr. Samford. Do you think you can only sense it off of men? I bet you.
No,
can sense
I'm not
it from
talking
women.
about
No,
drugs.
women
I'm talking
too.
about life
Women too.
itself.
Oh.
Women, yeah. You guys sense, where the favorite deals are for clothes. That's,
Oh gosh.
You want me to tell you a funny story? Is speaking of being a lie detector, is my son, I think, was about 11 or 12 years old, and he came out of the shower, and I said, "Did you use shampoo?" And he said, "Yes." And I looked at him and I said, "What you need to know is, I know when you're lying to me, and so don't ever lie, because I will know."
What'd he say?
It's well, you know what? I haven't caught him in a lie since. I think he believed me.
Yeah. Well,
People give a lot of tells when they're dishonest. It's pretty easy to tell when somebody's being dishonest.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right about that. It's like something like I notice sometimes, ticks on people. Somebody has a tick. I don't know. I just notice a tick right away. I'm like, oh, that person has a tick. And because we all have different little ticks and different little vices, and things that we do. But I mean, I remember now, it was not too long ago. It was I think it was like when I first discovered how good I was at this, having that deal and that sense, was we were driving somewhere and I go, oh, right there. And it's like, my son's like, what? I go, that dude's making a drug deal right there. He goes, what are you talking about? He's just one grocery. I go, no, son, I can see him doing it. I can see it, I can smell it, and I can sense it, And the good part about it is, where it does work into my advantage is, being 32 years sober now, is that I can see something go down and say, okay, I don't want to go that direction. We need to go this direction.
give it a very wide berth.
That's right.
Yes, yeah. But the great part about it, like what my wife, what I'm happy now is, I didn't know how she would react if I saw something and I said, just, and I was like, just get in the car. I said, get in the car. Mm-hmm. And she did, which is great. I'm happy because she knew that I saw something she didn't see.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, we have to be, I think, with this disease is cunning, baffling, and powerful. And it will use everything in his arsenal to try to get you back out there. And the great part about it is, when you have recovery under your belt, you use those tools to keep it at bay. I always tell these newcomers that it's doing push-ups and waiting on you. And believe me, They can do 1,000 push-ups a second, and you can't accomplish that. So it's best to leave it alone and not go that direction so that you can heal. But it's really healing that inner child. What do you think about that? The inner child inside of us that needs to be healed. That's something that prevents us from relapse, I believe.
And let me comment on what you were just saying. Is if you ask me, because I've been sober about as long, if you ask me, how have you been sober this long? The answer to that is because I've had so many people help me over the years. Mm-hmm. And that's that recovery community is one of the most significant things that we can do, is create a sober network around us. Yeah. Because we're going to have moments of vulnerability, we're going to be challenged, and during those times, if we have good support around us, we can navigate through that and stay sober. That's the reason I've been able to stay sober this long, is because I've had so many wonderful people that have helped me along the way.
That's great. How much time do you have of sobriety?
30 years.
Yep, that 30 years, and it's such an I have 32. It's such an accomplishment, but it actually at the same time too, and it makes me feel great knowing I've been able to sustain from that for that long. By using the tools and practicing. And I have to learn, and I'm learning, and I'm still learning. I'm still learning to practice these, people, places, and things on people. Because sometimes, it gets lost in the shuffle, and I forget, and patience is a virtue, and I gotta practice. I'm practicing more patience, but I do know as I get older, in this program, because they actually say that we stop growing when we start using, which means that wherever we started at, like. I think mine was 21 or 20. I stopped growing. And then when I got into recovery, that's when you start back again as a baby and you grow again to be an adult again. That's what they say. So.
Do you know can you explain a little bit more about that, what he's talking about, Dr. Samford?
Well, when you start using, you stop growing emotionally.
Yes.
Okay, so
it stops. It actually, you regress.
Yeah.
And so when you get sober, it's really like for a lot of us is we're redoing our adolescent years and our early adult years and learning how to navigate life because we've stunted ourselves with alcohol and drugs.
Yep.
Yeah.
We stopped ourselves emotionally from being able to
I've
grow
heard
and
it
mature.
described too as like not just addiction speak, but like when there's something traumatic that happens. Like when you were molested as a child, and at that age that you were, that it creates splits. I've heard like that term used, where there's almost like these multiple parts of you that are at these different ages. Is that right?
Well, it really fragments you is what it does.
Okay.
And you really, for a lot of people, they lose their identity, their sense of self, and they become very vulnerable to everything external because when something like that happens, it really shatters my internal anchor. And so I'm very vulnerable to anything. I have an external locus of control.
Mm-hmm.
And the way I explain it is the wind blows the wrong direction. It just throws me in a tizzy because I don't have a strong internal locus of control. And that's one of the things that whether you're going through trauma therapy or recovery for substance use disorders, what you're working on is to reestablish that internal sense of self and stability.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So with modern family dynamics, we've talked about the dependency on modern parents that have this tendency to overparent and kind of sabotage. But what about some of the breakdown? Like there is, I can't remember what the statistic is now, but there is just a lot of more divorce situations and things like that. How do you think that impacts the work that you're doing too?
Well, do you realize that right now, and I don't have the statistic in front of me, is there are more adults that are being financially supported by their parents than ever before.
Wow.
And so you have this, these generation or two that really don't have the skill set to launch into life and function as adults.
Well, and there's a similar statistic that kind of brings in another, I think, layer is that I've heard somewhere that there's also now more unmarried adults than there are like married families too. Like that as a culture, like back 30, 40, 50 years ago, this idea of like a family unit was so much more common, and that it was something crazy. It was an article I'd seen where I was like, wow, it's that many. And
let me give you an example of that. And it's more than just the family. It's growing up. I lived in a neighborhood, and the neighborhood, we would talk to each other. We would interact with each other as neighbors. And as a kid, if you went over to your friend's house and you did something the wrong way, that parent would get on you.
Oh yeah.
And then they would call your parents and let them know. So it was more of the neighborhood raising kids instead of just a single family. And so you got a lot of support. Well, you fast forward to today's world, and families are isolated, and people are isolated because they're on their electronics. Nobody goes outside and interacts with people do, but it's greatly diminished
Right.
our ability to physically interact with other people.
Oh yeah.
We're so caught up in our electronics.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's definitely, the social skills that kids are normally learning today are not learning it as easily because everything is just, texting. And and with texting, the interesting part about texting is you send something to someone, but it can come off totally wrong of what you sent. And I think that what that does is for an addict, it keeps us, we can distance ourselves very well. We can cut people off by not having to actually interact with them. We can just text them, we need to text them, but not actually see them in person. And by seeing them in person, that's how, we know someone is hurting. Is when you can see it right there in front of you. You can't tell by the text, but you can when they're right in front of you and you're talking to them.
And you can pick up on their body language, their tone of voice, all of those things, and you miss all of that via email or text or Snapchat or whatever it is.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
You know what I like to do? It drives people crazy. When people text me, especially like my son, he'll text me and I'll just pick the phone up and call him.
Immediately, because you're like, I know you got your phone in hand. You just texted me.
Because most people text you because they don't want to talk to you.
Yeah.
And so I like to just call.
Yeah, and say, okay, let's talk about what you just texted.
Right.
What kind of pushback do you get from that, Dr. Samford?
I do sometimes. Yeah. I especially like to do it with staff because it really kind of shakes them a little bit. If you're going to text me, I'm just going to call you. And we're going to have a real conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have something to ask you. Okay, what has been your toughest challenge since you've been in this position? Don't, I know you can't give us not names of the clients or anything like that, but what has been your toughest challenge and how did you were able to push through and really help that person?
Well, the toughest challenge as a professional working in the field, toughest challenge with a client. I mean, those are pretty big questions.
Yeah.
I'll give you one story about a client that I worked with that I just think it's fascinating. So, a huge part of being able to really help someone is you've got to be able to connect with them in a way that they trust you.
Yeah. That makes sense.
So it's called therapeutic alliance. You have to be able to connect and they have to feel comfortable with you. And so I had this client come in and I was actually in graduate school and I was working in a marriage and family therapy clinic. And it had the mirrors where your peers and your professor would be behind the mirror and they would observe you doing therapy and you would go back during halftime and they would give you feedback and then you go back and work with that client. Well, I got this client in and it was she was a 60-year-old female. And she came in and I tried a couple of times to get her to talk about more in-depth issues and she just didn't want to go there. And so I just let her talk about whatever she wanted to. And my peers and the professor observed this over several sessions and they kept giving me instruction to push her. And I just had this sense that if I did that, I just end up pushing her out of the room because she wasn't ready to disclose anything to the personal with me at that point. And so I met with her for a year, 55 sessions, somewhere around there.
Wow.
And at that time, she came in and she said, Brian, I'm going to tell you something that I've never told another human being in my life. And she told me about some pretty horrific abuse that happened to her, and she'd never told not one person. And what I learned from that experience is that, it's not necessarily your timing. It's when that client gets to a point where they're willing and able to share what they need to share. And sometimes when you're working with a client, you need to be all in, and you need to be all in for potentially a long period of time.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And once she shared that, it just opened up a whole new realm for her, and we processed through it. And she ended up reconnecting with siblings that she hadn't talked to for years.
Wow.
And you know what we found out is the same thing happened to the siblings.
Oh, wow.
Wow. Okay, that's really interesting.
And the siblings had never told another soul either. And so that family was able to come together. And if I had pushed her too much or, kind of went in there with my own agenda, she may have never gotten to a point where she could trust me enough to tell me.
Yeah, you could have ran her off, man. That's amazing though, how you were able to, not do that and then get what you needed out of her. And did you end up helping the rest of the family? Did you end up helping them too?
I ended up working with all the siblings.
Nice.
And it was beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful.
Well, and it just underscores how important it is that it be on their timing, right? That people don't get into recovery until they are ready, which that's got to be tough with the families too. Because it's not when mom's ready for you to get into recovery.
No,
right?
No, it's got to be when that person's ready to go. Yeah, I tell you what's also interesting is like when I was speaking a couple of weeks ago, and 3 people came up to me later on that are dealing with this substance abuse in their home with one of their kids, and I always say the most amazing part to it is you can speak to 20,000 people, but you're really there for that one person. That one person is who you're there for. That's the person that you're gonna help. And it's like I always say, if I'm speaking to all these people, if I help that one person, I did my job. And it's very important for us to give back so that we can take in, we can receive. You got to give it away to keep it. That's just the bottom line.
Yeah. And, I've, especially in the beginning, because early recovery is really difficult and it's really hard.
It is.
And someone told me this, and I really have hung on to it to this day, is, Brian, all that pain and suffering that you've gone through, would it all be worth it if you could use that experience to help one person, to change one person's life? Would it all be worth it? And the answer to that is yes. My life is a success if I'm able to help one person change their life. And I think about that a lot. And I share that a lot with people that are really suffering and struggling, that experience that you're going through right now may ultimately end up being your greatest asset that allows you to help other people in a way that others couldn't.
I absolutely believe that. I think that we go through things to give us that capacity to be able to help others. Brian, we have one more question for you. How do you recommend supporting people with compassion while still holding them responsible for their choices? Yeah. Especially in like a family dynamic.
Well, let me talk about it on behalf of being a clinician or in working in the field and this is what I tell the staff, and this also applies as being a member of 12-Step Recovery. Yeah. This is the key, is the people that I work with, whether it's in a formal clinical setting or it's 12-Step Recovery, is I love them as a person. And that is a foundational piece that if you possess that, you can hold people accountable without putting them off or without eliciting defensiveness, because they know you really care about them. Yeah. And that's the key, because, early recovering people and even later recovering people is we need those in our lives that will hold us accountable. Yeah. But when we feel that they love us, we're much more receptive to that accountability.
That makes sense. So the love and compassion is a key part, but it doesn't mean not holding them accountable. It doesn't mean like the parents you're talking about that are in out of love, they're just stepping in and taking care of everything. But that's actually disabling.
Well, yeah, accountability is loving that person. Right. When you say, no, I'm not going to support you in doing that because I love you. So yes, that part, they're connected.
Yeah. Absolutely. Oh, this has been so fascinating. Thank you so much for being with us. We now, we're doing a part of our show where we talk about ToddFlix is what we call it. It's where Todd shares a favorite show that he's been binging on lately. This week we're talking about Tracker. Have you heard of that show? It's a CBS show.
I think I have heard of it. I haven't seen it yet.
And Tracker is a show that on CBS. It's like, I guess it's an adventure drama series where Justin Hartley he plays Coulter. You got to do it. I can't even say it right now.
He plays Coulter Shaw.
I haven't slept yet, so
Coulter Shaw, but he lives out of a
Well, he lives out of he travels. He lives out of a motorhome, and
it's like an Airstream.
Well, it's the Airstream. Let's get that right.
Very nice silver.
It's a really nice Airstream, but his life is constantly on the road, and usually he gets paid to help find people, but sometimes he'll just do it because he really feels bad and he wants to help find either a
It's
kid
kind of like he's a bounty hunter, but he's like tracking down missing people more than
he's kind of a bounty hunter. Well, he's not really a bounty hunter. He's kind of he's
because he gets like paid when people put out like rewards
because he's looking
somebody's
for lost
missing
people.
or something.
But what usually happens is he always ends up in more trouble than he should. That's the problem. You know what I mean? He gets involved in a lot of stuff, and he doesn't look like the guy that typically. And the person that's on that show is also on the other doctor show.
It's not him, right?
That's the same guy from the doctor show.
Oh, the guy that plays Coulter Shaw, the Justin Hartley.
He was on the short-lived show, New Amsterdam. He was on that show also.
Oh,
that
was
guy
a good
plays
one too.
this guy, but what I love about him is that he takes if he believes in something, and here we are again. If you really he believes in somebody and he believes in trying to really, really help this person, and he will take the job on, and he has a lot of different people at his disposal that he knows, and they come aboard and they help, So sometimes he does it pro bono. Sometimes that's what. So he's like a lawyer kind of, but he's not a lawyer. But what
he's
makes
a detective and a tracker.
What makes this show so interesting is how they go about it, how this guy lives his day, how he lives his life. And for me, I always relate everything to the program. And I always say that this is like when, you're not using, so you have to use everything at your disposal to try to stay sober. You use everything you can to, it's like if you have to use what I always call for in addiction, to keep my sobriety, I have to use everything in my power to find that tool that can not to make me feel better, but that can make me realize that I can continue to move forward. What makes this show to me fun is the adventure it goes on. It takes you on this huge adventure, and there's always something wild and crazy, and then you see how many people are involved. Sometimes it's like a person's missing, and the town may have been involved in this person disappearing.
It's interesting because you do. It's came out in 2024, and it does seem like a very modern type show because you have so many people. It seems like very trendy to just live out of your car or go on the road, and that's kind of what he's doing.
Yes, and I notice more and more that people are living out of their cars. They're living out of their motorhomes. They decided to give up their house, and they work on the road. They work through the internet on the phone. And I think for me, I view that as like my sobriety. I don't live my sobriety anymore in my head. That was a dangerous place for me when as far as when it took me, I don't know about you, but it took me a long time to realize how broken my head was, how broken my brain was, and I always realized the only way to really fix it is not to listen to myself, is to get the opinion from other people and actually take that in and use it. And what makes this show fun is that this guy uses everything, his head, people. So to me, I relate this to sobriety with it completely.
He's a younger guy too, and it's interesting that he has the abilities that he have, and they're hinting at that he has some secrets in his past. We haven't quite figured it out yet because we've only seen, I think, one season of it.
Second season. I've seen second season.
You've seen the second one? Have I?
No.
Oh, I need to. You watched it without me? How rude!
Because you're sometimes with your kids and your daughters, and I want to get through something. Bettijo she'll get bored with the show and then want to move to another show. But I like to get it done. I like to binge watch it. I'm the addict. I want to binge it. I want all of it, all at once.
While we were talking, earlier, a couple other TV shows came to mind. I was thinking about Breaking Bad, and then also there was a show that came out recently called. I guess it wasn't that recently. It was probably like 5 or 6 years ago. It was called Good Girls.
I know why I didn't watch that one.
But both of these, what came to mind of them is that they were really good at showing these like ordinary, everyday people that get wrapped up into this world of in Good Girls, it's crime. I think they get into like doing some drug dealing and stuff like that. Whereas Breaking Bad is a show a lot more people are familiar with, where he's like this chemistry teacher and he starts cooking up, I don't know, is it meth or something?
Yeah, methamphetamine. Yeah.
To raise money. But what I think is really interesting in these shows is that it shows that Good Girls, especially, it's just these housewives that end up kind of starting to dabble a little bit into this underworld culture, and then all of a sudden find themselves like trapped and stuck there, because it's one of those things where it's like you're most protected if you don't know what you don't know, right? And that once you sort of dip your foot in there, it's very easy to just get sucked right into that world, and it can be so hard to get out.
Well, yeah, and that's why, like I said, it's like if someone tells me today, hey man, don't go down that road over there because there's a mountain lion over there and it's chewed off several people's foot, I'm going to take that in accountability and probably not go down that road anymore. I don't need to say anymore, I'm going to find out for myself. Oh, I don't believe that. I don't need that.
Is that just a maturity thing? Because I'm that way too, but I think when I was younger, I would have been like, I studied journalism. I've been like, oh, I kind of need to see the mountain lion. I want to go. What do you think, Dr. Samford? Is that just a maturity thing? Or are there some people that are young and will be able to just take their word for it?
I am all over the place today too, man. I tell you what, lack of sleep, doctor. Let me tell you, man.
That's right.
Because I drove in from Arizona from LA to Arizona because we had to get in back in town. And I tell you what, when you have lack of sleep, I am scatterbrained right now.
Oh, for sure.
But I got up. I got up because I knew if I didn't get up, that I would end up not being able to sleep tonight. I knew that. So I got up. So I'm forcing myself to be up, and I got to stay up. But when it comes about 9 tonight, I'm gonna be out.
Yeah.
And I can't wait.
Yeah. That's right.
Awesome.
Never be too hungry. Never be too hungry. Never be too angry. Always take into consideration for my disease. What I've learned is to always take care of myself first, because if I don't keep myself here and sober and happy, I can't do anything for my wife or anybody else around me.
That's absolutely right.
I'm unwilling to lose myself today. Unwilling to do that.
Absolutely.
But I'm also unusing to be a lot more truthful with myself today too. That's what I'm also learning, to be very truthful to myself now. I'm not going to lie to myself anymore. It's like, what drives me crazy sometimes, doctor, is when you ask somebody, you say, hey man, how you feeling? Oh, I'm doing great. And he's lying through his teeth. I have learned that if I'm not doing well emotionally and you say, how you doing? I'm terrible, man. I need some money right now. I'm broke right now. I'm trying to do this. I'm trying to do that, and it's just not working, and I'm just very unhappy. And always out of that comes help from somewhere. And I've learned that, to use my Lord and Savior Christ. I will talk to him. I challenge God sometimes, and not in a negative way, but God says, challenge me. You challenge him, and it always comes through for me. It's one thing I love about my God is he always comes through for me, and sometimes it's not as fast as I want it, but it's always right there when it needs to be. And that's the success key. Being able to be, I never thought that I'd be sober for 32 years. I never thought that in my entire life, that I'd be no cocaine for 32 years. I've never believed that in my entire life. It's so great that that's possible, and it actually happened,
Well, and I feel the exact same way. And I really, if you ask me what my greatest accomplishment in life is, I would say my sobriety is my greatest accomplishment.
Oh yeah, I think I would say
because without that, I won't have anything. I'll lose everything. And so I'm very, very grateful. The longer I'm sober, it seems like the more grateful I get.
Yeah, something. Me too. And I think it's because, like, I know that if I can accomplish this by surrendering, because surrender is the key, to this sobriety thing. And I've learned now to also surrender my thoughts and stuff over to God. When I'm having issues emotionally, I say, something, God, I know that you know what the outcome's going to be, and you can handle this, but I no longer can handle it, so I'm giving it to you, and I'm not going to think another second about it. I've learned to do that, and it worked very well for me.
And it only took me 20 years in recovery to figure that out.
Well, I told God I wanted to learn patience, and now God is, whenever you ask for to teach you patience. What does he do? Put you in
Yeah, don't ever pray for patience.
Yes.
Not a good thing.
Because he'll throw you right out there where you have to learn patience the hard way.
Absolutely.
Well, dang.
Dang.
Do you want to say dang?
You can say it too.
Dang.
So you got to. So I'll say it, and then Bettijo. So you say it first, Bettijo. Then I'll say it. Then you got to say it. You ready?
All right.
Okay.
Dang.
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 Thank you so much for watching and being here today, you guys, or listening. You guys catch us on YouTube and dang.com. We thank you so much. Don't forget like and subscribe.
It's dangpodcast.com.
Dang podcast. Oh yeah, so one more.
Not dang.com. I wonder what's on dang.com.
I don't know, but I'm a little.
It might be
scattered.
bad. I don't know.
No, that's bang.com. That's completely different, darling. I tell you, my wife is so innocent. She has no idea.
Oh no! Stop.
You are. You're innocent. My wife. I mean, I'm telling you, my wife really is. This is a good woman. I got blessed to be able to marry her. Let me
Well,
tell
that
you,
part's true.
No, it is true. No, well, you know something here. I don't know if I want to say. I do want to say this on the air though. It was like when she got off the plane, and I was looking at her. God told me right then and there, that's your wife. And I was like, I'm not getting married. He goes, that's your wife. And I'll tell you what, the best thing ever happened to me was marrying this woman right here. She's an amazing woman. She is. My wife is truly amazing,
Well,
honey.
thank you, honey.
You are. That's why, when I was driving last night, I was like, I'm going to make sure I get my wife home safely. And I got her home safely. But she's a good woman.
But now he needs a nap.
Yeah, I need more than a nap. I
yeah.
need some sleep. And I'm going to get it, too.
Well, and before we finish, I do want to say this to both of you is I really, really enjoyed spending time with both of you at the conference, and I've really been looking forward to seeing you again.
Oh, thank you.
And
Definitely.
just two wonderful people. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, we
appreciate that.
joined Dr. Samford at the Springboard
Yes,
Center conference
yes.
down in Texas a few
Yeah,
weeks
it
ago.
was
That's how
great.
we met him and
Yes.
knew we had to have him on the show.
Oh yeah, yeah. Thank you, and
So.
my wife, wonderful lady. Me sometimes not so much. I learn things from her more. I'm not gonna tell her the things that I learned from her, but I learn a lot from her. And
Absolutely.
patience is one of them because sometimes my patience is out the window, and I. She doesn't know I'm actually listening to her and doing what she needs me to do sometimes. But I don't want to tell her that because I'm a man. We don't watch those things. Baseball, football.
Well, let me
right.
try this again. Well, dang.
Dang.
Dang!
There you go. All right. Like and subscribe. We'll see you next time. Todd Bridges and Bettijo Bridges. Thank you. Dang is produced by my wife, Bettijo Bridges, in collaboration with Star Worldwide Network Studios, and edited by our daughter, Adelie Ann.
She's also the musician responsible for our theme music, so go check out Adelie Ann wherever you stream your music. Have a question or topic you want us to cover? Send us your suggestions at dangpodcast.com.
Do me a favor. Please subscribe and rate our podcast to make it easier for others to find. Have a great week.
Yeah,